Shalom, everybody. This is Olivier Melnick with Shalom and Messiah Ministries. You can scan the right here the QR code on the screen and connect with shalomandmessiah.com, and you can select how you want to stay connected with us. You can also donate on the website and support our ministry. We need it. We appreciate all the partners that have joined us in the last couple of months for such a time as this. So today I want to talk about a topic that is a little uncomfortable, but we need to clarify things, and this has to do with Passover, actually. But the topic is, when did Jews use Christian blood for Passover? That's the question. Or did they? See, during the season of the Feast of Unleavened Bread in Passover, I'm always reminded of the accusation that Jews over the millennia have used the blood of Christian children to make the matzah, the unleavened bread, for Passover. This accusation is known as the blood accusation or blood libel. So that's what I want to talk about today. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of my videos. So of course this accusation is a false allegation, but this hasn't stopped people from accusing Jews through the ages, and it has led to thousands of deaths, actually tens of thousands of deaths over a long period of time. The idea is that Jewish people murder young Christian children during the time of Passover, drain them of their blood, and use it to make unleavened bread. Now, Passover often takes place around the time of Resurrection Sunday, Easter. And the blood libel can also be reinforced with the other lie about the Jewish people, the accusation of killing Christ, or as we call it, deicide, the killing of God. So that doesn't help. Now, biblically speaking, the Jewish people were to refrain from consuming blood, so much so that God made it very clear to them on several occasions. Genesis 9:4, Leviticus 7:26 and 17:14, Deuteronomy 12:6, 15:23, Acts 15:20 and 28 and 29. Several places. It was a grave sin to consume blood. The children of Israel had a firm order from God, punishable by death, as we read in Leviticus 17:14, and I quote, "For as for the life of all flesh, its blood is identified with its life. Therefore I said to the sons of Israel, you are not to eat the blood of any flesh, for the life of all flesh is in its blood. Whoever eats it shall be cut off." That means punishable by death. Close quote. The practice actually has continued through the ages. And one of the basic principles of kosher meat in contemporary Judaism is to drain the meat of all its blood before consumption. So when did it start in Jewish history, this idea of blood libel, of the blood accusation? Well, like many of the false accusations, it started during the Middle Ages in Europe and has grown ever since, and it's still alive today. The first case on record was in 1144 in Norwich, England. When I say the case, I need to clarify that this is the first time that an accusation was made about the Jewish community, although there was absolutely no proof to make such an accusation. A young child, known today as William of Norwich, died of a violent death, allegedly crucified by Jews on Easter Friday during Holy Week in Norwich, England. The accusation was made by one single Benedictine monk, Thomas of Monmouth, who had claimed to have talked to some of the people in 1150 who witnessed the event. In other words, this was a second-hand story allegedly received by one monk 6 years after the alleged date of the murder that ignited the blood libel, occasionally still blazing across the globe today. That's how removed it was from the event and how difficult to prove. There was one person. This is so irrational. But that is the weapon of Satan, to transform the irrational into the rational and make people believe it and go after the Jews. The most recent book on the topic, this is surprising, but it's true. The most recent book on the topic, titled Pasqua di Sangue, or Passovers of Blood, by Ariel Toaf, published in his native Italian tongue in 2007 and translated into English in 2016. That is 872 years after the death of William of Norwich. In his book, Ariel Toaf claims that the use of blood for Passover, of Christian blood for Passover, was a regular thing in Jewish communities. And it is very, according to him, very damaging to Judeo-Christian relations. There's no foundation for that, but the book exists and people believe it. It should not come as a surprise then when we hear of people in the Middle East accusing Jews of the same crime today, as was the case in 2014, as reported in Time of Israel. And I quote, "Israel is targeting the Palestinians. I would just like to remind you of the ruling by the Israeli rabbis who have instructed the soldiers to knead the dough for the bread that the Jews eat with the blood of Arab and Palestinian children." This was a quote, close quote. This was a quote from a Palestinian leader. So the old canard lives on as irrational as I mean, it is so irrational. It's as irrational as ever and as believable as ever by those who loathe the Jews and seek their complete destruction. It still goes around. If we want to connect Passover to blood, we can actually do it without too much difficulty. But it is not the blood of Christian children used to make matzah, but the blood of the Passover lamb, sacrificed by each Jewish family after they came out of Egypt, out of the Egyptian captivity, and experienced the first Passover as retold in Exodus chapter 12, and especially verses 21 and 22, and I quote, "Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said to them, 'Bring out and take for yourselves lambs according to your families, and slaughter the Passover lamb. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood, which is in a basin, and touch some of the blood that is in the basin to the lintel and 2 doorposts, and none of you shall go outside the doorway of his house until morning.'" Close quote. The blood of the lamb was to be applied to the doorpost and lintel of the Jewish homes where the families were securely inside, and the destroyer, the angel of death, would smite the Egyptians and preserve the Jewish people as he passed through the villages. That's what happened at the first Passover. Even back then, there was no sign of any blood consumption by anyone whatsoever. It was just applied on the doorpost of the homes of the Jewish people. And what's beautiful is that the same way that the blood was applied, the blood of the lamb was applied on the doorpost of the Jewish families, so that the angel of death would pass over them that night. We can say today with certainty that the blood of Yeshua, the Lamb of God, was applied on the doorpost of the hearts of the believers, so that when the day comes for judgment, God will pass over us. That's a very, very strong connection. Now, taking this biblical story to its perfect fulfillment, we must also look at the purpose of the Passover lamb for the Jewish people. And it really, the true meaning of life is in the blood comes to life. But beyond this, we can also, as I just mentioned, look at the ultimate Lamb of God, Yeshua of Nazareth, who sacrificed his own life to pay for the sins of all people, just like John the Baptist cried out, and I quote, "Behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world." That's in John 1:29. If we're to talk about blood during the Feast of Pesach, Passover, we'd better talk about the blood of Yeshua shed on the cross for the salvation of all mankind. That is the only blood worth mentioning, and it is not the blood of Christians, but the blood of Christ. Thank you. Until next time, make sure you connect with us on YouTube and on shalomandmessiah.com. And we will see you next time. Be blessed and shalom.